friends, it's Kelly. Thanks so much for being here. I'm using the Scrap Divas double stitched arch die set and a couple of the dies from the gnome, Christmas gnome die set to make my folded Hinge Christmas mini. So today's mini will be made with Pinkfresh Studios Happy Holidays, and the previous one, which will have a flip through on another video, was made with Holiday Magic. So let's begin. I just want to show you how I made the covers. I did 2 pieces of pattern paper with a extra heavy white cardstock in between. So let's go ahead and start our hinge. You are going to cut a white AC cardstock by 3 3/8 by 5 1/8. I've made 2 marks on my trimmer. That's what I'm going to use to do all my scoring. And the first score is going to be at a 1/2 inch. So line up your cardstock at the 1/2 inch and score there. Now the next score will be at 1/4 inch, and you'll repeat that again, make another score at 1/4 inch. Now this score is going to be at 3/8, so move that score mark that you made previously to the 3/8 mark and score it. And then you just carry on and do this until you have 5 segments. Quarter, quarter, 3/8, quarter, quarter, 3/8. And at each end of your cardstock, you'll have a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to just finger fold where I've got the 2/4 score marks together, and the center line is the peak. So following your score lines that you made, just finger fold up the peaks. You'll have 5 of them, and at either end you'll have your 1/2 inch. After you finger fold, I like to take my bone folder and make the peaks nice and crisp. It'll finish off by looking kind of like a coffee filter. So I'm going to add my double-sided tape to the 5 1/4 inch segments. I just burnish it on with my fingers at first, and then I'll go back with my bone folder and burnish it on well. So once you peel off the tape cover, you'll fold 2 of the quarters together, and that makes your little peak. And so we're going to do that for all 5, and in between what's left is the 3/8 inch segment, and that's where all the pretty things will be built up in your mini. So once you're finished folding, it'll be 3 3/8 by 3 5/8, and this is the front of the spine cut from pattern paper. Measurements are on the screen. You can pause any time if you want to record or write down the measurements. So I'm going to glue the accordion or hinge to a piece of sturdy cardstock. It's a little heavier than your basic cardstock. It's the same paper that I use to make the covers. Just makes it really sturdy, and it's able to sit on your shelf. And I kind of like to display my minis after I make them. So yeah, there we go. 5 hinges with a 1/2 inch on either side, and this is the pattern paper that will show on your spine. So you just take one side and score it at a 1/2 inch and glue your hinge segments onto the back of that up against the 1/2 inch score mark. So you'll burnish that on with your fingers and your bone folder, and on the other side just take your bone folder and make a crease and fold that over. The reason I didn't do it at first is sometimes when you make a fold it takes up just a little bit of room. So you have 5 hinges with a 1/2 inch on either side. Now I'm going to tape on my back cover and front cover using the super tape. It's a little stronger than double-sided tape. It's orange and it comes in 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. This 1/2 inch is actually just a wee bit wider than a 1/2 inch, which is kind of odd, but so be it. So just take my scissors and trim a little whisker away. So I'm going to remove the covers off the super tape, and I had removed the wrong one there. You want to be cognizant of the direction of your paper if there is one, and so things don't get glued in upside down. So this is how I made my cover. I just used my tape roller and added that to the back of the paper. That makes the front. Added that to the heavy cardstock and did the same with the inside of the cover. And I just used a sanding block, had a brain freeze there, to take off any extra glue that might be hanging off the edges. So there we go. We have our covers. Just ease the spine at the folds. And now I'm going to work on the spine. Now this mini, I designed it so that there was a little acetate cover, kind of like a little window covering the spine. You've probably seen them around on Instagram. I've wanted to try it for a long time. I think they look so cute. So the acetate that covers your spine, the size of it is dependent on how much you put on your spine. But of course it's going to be 3 3/8 tall, because that's the size of the dies that I used. The double stitched arched die set from Scrap Diva Design. The largest one is 3 3/8. Well, actually it wasn't the largest one, just happened to be the one I used. I think it's the 3rd one from the top. So I'm going to work on the trims that I sew on to either end of my acetate. And it's just going to be glued to the front. You'll see that in a moment. So my trims, there it is there on the previous album. You cut 1 inch wide and then 3 3/8 inch tall. Everything's 3 3/8 because that's the size of the die. So it's 1 inch by 3 3/8 if you use the same die I did, and you score it in half. So you score it 1/2 inch. And I'm going to go and sew those onto my piece of acetate. I'm back. So I've sewn my trims onto my acetate, and then that'll be taped to the front of my mini. So while I was gone, I also used some gems and stickles on the front of my spine because I like things sparkly. So going back to my super tape, I'm going to use that on the wrong side of my trims. I can always tell because my sewing machine only sews nice on the top when I'm sewing paper. I just haven't figured out how to get the tension right for paper, I guess. But anyways, I'm going to add my super tape to the trims and remove the cover. I'm going to start by gluing one on there and then do the same on the back. It makes kind of like a tunnel where your spine is got all the goodies on it, and it kind of looks like a little glossy window. I mean, the first one I did, I put flowers in the window, which was cute. I put poinsettias, but this time I went for the snowman. He's kind of cute too. That's a Spellbinder die, and I'll list it in the description box. So we'll burnish that on. So we've got our spine, our covers, our hinge, And all that's left to do is add the pages inside. And before I do that, I'm going to cut the hinges at a slight angle on all sides. This is optional. You can leave them square. I left them square on my first mini, so I thought I'd try the angled appearance on this one. So again, I'm going to add some double-sided tape. And in hindsight, I probably could have added the double-sided tape to the hinge and then cut it at an angle. It would have been easier than making, two cuts for each hinge and then do it again with the tape. So that's what I'd recommend. Add your tape and then cut the hinges on an angle if you choose to. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. I'm just adding one page for each hinge. So there's 5 hinges, 5 pages. I'm going to be decorating both sides of the pages, and I'll have a flip through on that in just a couple of days. So for the covers, I added a eyelet, a very tiny eyelet on each end of the cover and the back cover, and then I placed some ribbon through that with a bead on the end. And the first bead I tried had too small of a hole, so I had to stop the filming and go and find some larger beads. Oops-a-daisy. So anyways, you just tie on your ribbon. I used a double knot, and then I actually glued the double knot. So I'm back with a couple of things to dangle off my ribbon, and they're kind of like beaded charms. They're really pretty and dainty. I think I got them at Michael's. And I just tied those on with the double knot and trimmed the end of the ribbon. It just adds a little extra something something. So when you're closing your mini, it's not just ribbon, it's ribbon and a pretty thing. So as I finish that off, I want to thank Erica again for having me on the design team as a guest for December and for all the cute dies. I've had a lot of fun playing around and making new projects. Happy New Year's to everybody, and hope your scrappy adventures in 2025 are going to be a lot of fun. If you have any questions, just leave them below in the comments field and I'll get back to you. Have a good day. Bye bye.